Padres in that Sunday afternoon game completed a 3-game sweep of this Reds ball club. He went 7 innings of 3-run baseball. He struck out 4 and walked 4 in that ball game, and really how he goes oftentimes depend on how he controls that sinking fastball of his.
In the air to center field, peering up into the bright sunshine behind home plate is Willie Taveras, and he'll haul it in. Asdrubal Cabrera, the switch-hitting leadoff hitter, is retired. A little bit of a change in the lineup for this Indians team. If you follow them over the years, Grady Sizemore has been the leadoff hitter. They're trying to get him on track. Uncomfortable territory for him. He's in at .213, but against the Reds, he's hit over 300 in his career. Sizemore, the left-hand swinger, is hitting in the number 2 spot. Victor Martinez has been outstanding all year, one of the best hitters in the American League. Sin Soo Choo, Johnny Peralta, Mark DeRosa, the former National Leaguer, Garco, Francisco, and Reyes. That is 1 through 9. Your starting lineup for Eric Wedge, the former catcher out of the Boston Red Sox organization. Wedge, the manager of the Indians, 41 years of age, his 7th year of managing in Cleveland. A bright baseball man and a great communicator, trying to find a way to communicate his club to the 500 level. They come in 16 and 26, 8.5 games back, Chris. Their bullpen has been a disaster so far.
Well, they got off to a horrendous start, George, and having a bad bullpen will make it a bad road trip.
Well, there's Sizemore. That's a big swing for the center fielder. He hits that a ton, and Bronson Arroyo's given up his 11th, now 12th home run of the season, and the Indians are off to a 1-0 lead. For Sizemore, that is the 7th home run he's hit against Cincinnati, and 15 runs batted in. They want to get him on track in the number 2 spot, and he sure shows a way to do it.
Well, the Indians are swinging on bats a lot better than they had been earlier in the year. On this road trip, they've got their team batting average up over 300, and Grady Sizemore, who has been struggling this year, does not struggle with that swing. It's a fastball that looks like out over the plate, and boy, he is such a good player, good athlete, that you cannot beat him that kind of pitch.
Very solid offensive and defensive player. Comes in at .213, but drills his 8th homer of the year, 7th in his career against Cincinnati. He's always hit well against the Reds in interleague competition. Sizemore, great high school athlete out of the state of Washington, originally signed by Montreal. He came over in the same deal that Brandon Phillips went from Montreal to Cleveland, along with Cliff Lee. Talk about a deal that was big time for the Indians organization at that time.
I would say that was quite a one-way deal. Wasn't that in the Bartolo Colon deal?
Yep. All 3 of them weighed about the same that Bartolo Colon weighs now, right? Here's Victor. Boy, you talk about off to a great start. This guy's been something else. He's behind the plate today. He'll catch and play first base. They've got to change the lineup a little bit with no designated hitter. Travis Hafner, who's been their big-time left-handed power bat's been on the disabled list. They hope to get him back after this designated hitter-less trek to the National League completes for the Indians. But they get Hafner back. That'll make their lineup that much better. But in the middle of not having him, this guy's been something else, Chris.
Well, he's a guy, he's a guy that, you know, you figure one of these years he's going to show up somewhere a different position than behind the plate, because he hits well enough to be an infielder like a third baseman or a first baseman.
Rosales smothers this, and he'll tap the bag. Here's your 4 defensive alignment. You see Adam Rosales down at first. Joey Votto is cleared to play. He's available to pinch hit tonight. He hopefully will be in the lineup no later than Sunday, possibly tomorrow. Next, Taveras, Bruce in the outfield, Hairston, Gonzalez, Phillips, and Rosales across the infield, and Ramon Hernandez back behind the plate catching Bronson Arroyo. That is your 4 defensive alignment. Good sight to see Joey Votto out on the field taking batting practice. And if you didn't get the final word from the doctor's report yesterday, an inner ear infection was the final diagnosis of his dizzy spells. They took a battery of tests to rule out any possibility. So he feels better, swinging better. He was happy to be out on the ball field again today, Chris, and it's just nice to see a smile on his face again.
Well, you know, George, I think he's relieved to know that it's nothing more serious than that. I mean, when you hear the word vertigo and it's you they're talking about, you got to be shaking in your boots, because that's something that really never goes away, can only be somewhat controlled. But if you have an inner ear infection, you know, obviously they feel that they can take some medication and they can treat that and they can get rid of it, and he'll be back to normal.
That's Joey in the batting cage today. We'll hear from him a little bit later on his clearance medically to get back playing baseball.
But you take him out of the lineup, though, and you can't compare him with Albert Pujols, but he is the Reds version of Albert Pujols as far as being the one solid guy in the lineup who plays against lefties and righties, and you need his power and his presence.
Rosales scoops, Arroyo over, taps the bag. Indians take the lead. Grady Sizemore's 8th homer of the season gives them a 1-0 lead. Here comes Taveras when we return. For the first time, Gonzalez will hit in the 8th spot and Bronson Arroyo hits 9th. That is your starting lineup for Dusty Baker. And here's a guy who Reds fans have seen in a Cardinal uniform for the better part of the last 5 years.
Well, he was drafted by the Cardinals. That was back in 2003 out of USC. George, that ring a bell to you? He's a former Trojan. And he was traded to Cleveland, and he's had run upon a little hard times here so far. You see their under-run average up around 7. Not a guy that has pitched especially deep into a ball game either. The deepest he has gone into any one ball game this year for Reyes is 6 innings.
Well, Reyes with that flat brim cap ready to go to work. He came over midpoint of last year to the Indians. Had a great opening month with the Indians and had a little soreness in the elbow, so they shut him down. Starts with a 1-2 record and an ERA of over 8 against the Reds. Here's Taveras. Willie in his career 1 for 3 against this right-hand tosser in 1st and 3rd in tight. I mean, they want to take away the bunt very clearly from Taveras. You can't get any tighter than Garco is at 1st and DeRosa is at 3rd. Your home plate umpire for today, Jeff Kellogg. Rob Drake is down at 1st. Mark Wagner's at 2nd. And Tim Timmons is your 3rd base umpire for this lid lifter of the 3-game set on this Memorial Day weekend in Cincinnati. Here's the 3-1. And there's ball 4. Now the Reds will get a base runner pronto. The speedy Taveras heads down to 1st. And here's a peek at your 4 defensive alignment. The Indians in the American League, 6th in the league in defense. They've committed 23 miscues compared to 30 for the Reds. Francisco, Gold Glove caliber in center with Sizemore, and Sin-Soo Choo in right. DeRosa, who can play all around the infield and the outfield too, is at 3rd. Peralta, who's been playing 3rd, will play short because of the DH to get him in the lineup. Asdrubal Cabrera, who's been playing short, moves to 2nd, and Garco's over at 1st with Victor Martinez behind the plate. That is your 4 defensive alignment. Victor Martinez has thrown out only 14% of those who've tried to steal. You'd expect the Reds to exploit the running game in this series.
And I would expect them to do it early on. You know, Reyes, you see how long he's holding the ball right there. The Indians pitchers have to resort to whatever tactic they can come up with just to try to hold the runners, upset the timing and the cadence of the runner at first base, and maybe help themselves by getting the hitter a little anxious as well. But Martinez just not throwing the ball very well at all from behind the plate. And that's a good move by Taveras. You know, if you don't know a pitcher's move, or it's been a little while since you've seen it, go ahead and get yourself a real big lead at first base, a one-way lead, assuming that he's going to come over there, and you'll get a good look at what he does.
A little bigger lead for Taveras. He's going. The pitch plunks Hairston in the back, and the Reds will have first and second. He had a big break, and the base was stolen, but Hairston, even if he tried, couldn't get out of the way of that one. So a walk and a hit batter, and the Reds have 2 on, nobody out here in the first.
Yeah, I've not seen Anthony Reyes pitch yet this year, George, but he just doesn't look right at all. And the few pitches that we've seen him throw, talked about some elbow problems that he had. He looked like he was pitching to Willie Taveras and pitching around him. On a 3-1 pitch, he bounced the ball in the dirt. I mean, you got to become a little closer than that when you're a big leaguer.
Well, one thing that guy right there, Eric Wedge, wants to do is stay out of his bullpen. His bullpen has been nothing but trouble for him, and the Reds would love to get into the Indians' bullpen. We got a chance to take an early lead here with Bruce coming to the plate. Jay at 247, leading the Reds with 12 homers, 25 knocked in. I'm not sure if that hit the umpire's leg and not the catcher's leg. Had it gotten past the umpire, then both runners probably would have advanced. As it is, the Indians get a break. Take a look.
Jeff Kellogg gets an assist right here.
That would have been a second and third with nobody out. Instead, it's an ouch to Kellogg. 1 ball to Jay. That's a little low. Brandon Phillips, who's been the hottest Red, is on deck. And Brandon has had some success against Reyes. He's 3 for 7 and a homer against Reyes. Duno. Well, he not even come close.
Victor Martinez looking over into the dugout like, hey, what should we do right here?
Carl Willis, the pitching coach, same kind of look on his face as Eric Wedge talks to him. 3-0. Talk a lot about starting the game the right way, Chris, with first pitch strikes. Not so far here, huh?
He's only thrown 1 strike out of 9.
That's not a Tom Browning method of success, is it?
And it's nobody's method of success.
That's ball 4. A walk, a hit batter, and another walk. That'll get Willis off his bench and take a trek out to talk to his right-hander. There's Joel Skinner, one of the coaches on this Indians club. The Indians have Eric Wedge, the manager. Carl Willis is the pitching coach. Skinner's your third base coach. Louis Rivera's down at third. Derek Shelton, the hitting coach. Jeff Datz is the bench coach. A staff that's been together for a long time. A little bit of a pep talk, take a breather, but early on, Chris, not the same mechanics, not the same look, not the same feel that we'd seen off Anthony Reyes when he was a Cardinal.
Really, his mechanics look very complicated tonight, George. It looks like he's turning one way and twisting another, and he's got a lot of excess movement. And unless you're a really gifted athlete in a groove, the more complicated your delivery is, the fewer times you're going to be able to repeat it and throw strikes. I think that's part of his problem right now.
Well, Dusty Baker couldn't ask for anything better than this. Here comes Brandon Phillips, whose average is up to 275. He now leads the club with 33 runs batted in. Half of those runs batted in have come in the last week and a half. That's how hot he's been.
He ought to be looking up there for the first pitch down Broadway and let it rip. Don't stand up there looking for a walk. He should come out of that on deck circle ready to swing the bat on the first one he sees if it's good.
Base is loaded, no one out. Bottom of the first. And that's low. Middle of the infield, double play depth for the Indians. They'll give up a run to try to get 2.
Just looks like Reyes has no confidence in any of his stuff at all. He's just trying to feather everything, making every pitch he makes a perfect pitch. At some point, you've got to rear back and say, here it is.
1 ball. He's struggling to throw strikes, struggling to find his comfort zone here in the first, and he's behind again 2-0.
Now, we may find out later there's something physically wrong with him, George, but I'll tell you, it's been a long time since we've seen a major league pitcher go out there and really have no idea, and he's got no idea right now where that ball's going.
There's action already in the bullpen for the Indians. 2 balls, no strikes. Phillips digs in. That's in the dirt. Chris, after watching Anthony Reyes the last 4+ years, I mean, he just doesn't look right. He doesn't look physically right. Jensen Lewis up and loosening. The right-hander in the bullpen for the Indians.
Well, however bad he looks, George, I bet he feels worse. And he will soon feel worse than that.
3-0. Here's Brandon. And there's a strike. Big opportunity for the Reds in the first. Lance Nix on deck for Cincinnati. That's hit towards the alley and left. Closing fast is the left fielder Francisco. He'll haul it in. He'll make the catch. It'll be a sacrifice fly for Phillips, his 34th run batted in. And the Reds have tied this one up at 1. Looked like he got a little bit on the end of the bat.
Yeah, he did, but he still hit it very well. And you've got a guy that ranged pretty well into left center field to pick it up. Good swing right here, ahead in the count, looking for something he can drive. And you're right, he did get it just a hair off the sweet spot.
So the game's tied at 1 on the sacrifice fly. Here comes Nix. And first and second for the Reds now with 1 out. In the air to left, skied towards the warning track. Francisco, edge of the track, will haul it in. The runners will have to hold. And just like that, in 2 pitches, Reyes has a chance to get out of what was a monumental hole. That'll bring up the catcher, Ramon Hernandez. Ramon, throughout his career, of course, he came up in Oakland, then went to San Diego, and then the last 3 years is in Baltimore. Has faced the Indians a lot, and against Cleveland, he's a .289 career hitter with 6 homers, 38 knocked in. He's facing Reyes for the first time. Still trying to collect a big hit here in the first. You could start much worse than Reyes did. A walk, a hit batter, and a walk. Bases loaded, nobody out. And if he gets out of this the way he is right now, he'll be pretty happy.
I'll tell you, if he goes into the dugout with only giving up 1 run, he ought to pop the champagne. That's worth the celebration. And if the Reds can't get another run out of this, the way he started this inning off, it'll have a team meeting.
Big opportunity for Cincinnati here in the first. Hairston off second, Bruce off first. another 3-0 count.
You green light him right here?
In this inning, yes. He's smart enough to lay off something that he can't handle. Big hole in right center. They're shading him towards left center, and Reds fans know how often Hernandez has gone to right and right center. He won't get a chance to swing. That's ball 4. 3 walks and a hit batter in the inning. Bases loaded again, and here comes Adam Rosales. This is what puts gray on the top of your head and gray in your beard, isn't it, if you're a manager?
He's hoping one of those coolers down there is filled with milk and magnesium.
Or something stronger. Here's Rosales in at 242. He'll face Reyes for the first time. Alex Gonzalez on deck. Clips the bottom part of the strike zone. It's 1-1. A golden opportunity for Cincinnati here in the first. In the air to the right side. Over is Garco. Is he going to have room next to the tarp? He'll haul it in. The Reds let a big chance go by the boards. They get a run on a sacrifice fly. We're tied at 1, but they strand 3. For serious injuries. Joey Votto's had a serious look on his face of late because he's been out of the lineup since last weekend. The hope is he'll be back sometime this weekend. He is available to pinch hit tonight. He could be in the lineup as early as tomorrow, and hopefully by Sunday he definitely will be in the lineup. He was cleared, in case you missed the final story, cleared to play again after the Reds, after a bevy of tests, determined that it was just an inner ear infection, and that's the good news. Here's Johnny Peralta, who will lead it off, hitting 5th in the inning. Peralta, DeRosa, Garco in the first inning. If you joined us late, Grady Sizemore clubbed his 8th homer to give the Indians a 1-0 lead. Peralta's been playing 3rd of late, with Cabrera playing short, but without the designated hitter in effect. They've moved him back to short to keep his bat in the lineup, move Cabrera over to second. There's Johnny at 264, a homer, 18 knocked in. It's an Indian team that'll hit. They're 5th in the American League, 274. They don't hit as many homers as they used to. They've hit 41. In fact, the Reds have hit 42 coming into today, so their homer ties it. The two teams now at 42 home runs, and Arroyo will issue a walk to lead off the second. Speaking of Joey Votto, Joey, yesterday when the word finally came down, met with reporters. Here was his comment about how he was feeling.
Today I hit in the cage a little bit. I did some running. Yesterday I lifted some weights. I was a little worn out just because, getting over the illness and, just tired from all the travel and just wiped out in general. And, today I felt great, getting some running in and doing some hitting. More than anything, it lifted my spirits.
Good to see him back in the batting cage today.
George, he's a real soft-spoken guy. He measures his words before he answers any questions, but he wears his emotions right out on his face.
Bouncer down to short. 6-4, yes sirree, 3. The 33rd double play for the Reds. That erases the walk, and there's two away here in the second.
And you could just tell over the last week or so that he just was not himself. He was even more soft-spoken than ever before. He would just look like he was whipped. And even though they said he was over the flu or over whatever, problem he had, that, he was still obviously plaguing him and really kept him from doing not just baseball activities, but just normal activities. And you couple feeling bad with the kind of travel the Reds have had to do in the last couple of weeks, and it can wear you out. Going through different time zones, different climates. You go from here where it's cool to Arizona where it's 110 degrees. And no humidity. Then you go out to San Diego where they got the little June gloom going early in the mornings. It can play with you. There's no question about that.
And people might sit home and say, well, gee, I could have figured out it was an inner ear infection. But if you run a team and you're a medical doctor, Dr. Timothy Krimchek or Mark Mann, you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes. You test everything. They were also worried about the irregular heartbeat that bothered him at times too. So he's okay, ready to play, and the Reds hopefully will see him back.
Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, fun. JTM. And by Jeep. You talk, we listen. It's a new day. Have fun out there. Jeep.
Anthony Reyes going to work here in the second. Alex Gonzalez, the number 8 hitter. Bronson Arroyo, then the top of the order. Willie Taveras due up. What do you do if you're Anthony Reyes and you escape in that first and you head back to take a breather, Chris?
Well, George, you just try to forget what went on. You look at the scoreboard and you say, hey, I'm starting even at 1-1 right here. Let's forget whatever happened. You try to erase whatever happened in the first inning. You just go after the Reds like you would normally have prepared to. easier said than done.
No balls, 2 strikes to Gonzalez, the Red shortstop. Reyes was originally drafted by the Tigers, then selected by the Cardinals out of USC. Made it to the major leagues after being selected in 2003. In 2005 for the first time. And he was a major contributor for St. Louis in a couple of key years. 2006 he appeared in 17 games and 17 starts. There's a bloop and an effort by Cabrera. He can't get it, and Gonzalez will be on. Leadoff hit for Alex. Here comes Bronson, who leads the Reds in sacrifices. Hey, I've got to remind you too, see this beautiful new Toyota Tundra. If a Reds player hits the Tundra or the Tundra sign during tonight's game, Jamie Stofko of Cincinnati will win it. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Sign in left, sign in right, hit it, you got the car. Here's Bronson. Arroyo with 7 sacrifices already. Gets the bunt down. They look to second, but they'll take the out at first. There's 8 sacrifices. Boy, he's helped himself with the bat, hasn't he?
Well, he's got a knack for being able to get it done early in the count, too, before you begin to build the tension, get 2 strikes on you. You get the first bunt down. Not a great bunt right there. And I would imagine that if Victor Martinez was throwing better and his arm felt better, he may just fire that ball down to second base. A lot of catchers would. Both the Reds catchers would, and I would have thought that Martinez would have given it a shot as well, but he went for the easy out or the sure out at first base, and another sacrifice for Bronson.
So a runner in scoring position in a 1-1 game, and here's Taveras, who walked in the first, but then again, who didn't walk in the first? Taveras walked, Harrison hit by a pitch, Bruce walked, Ramon Hernandez walked, 3 walks and a hit batter. The only run the Reds got out of the first, a sacrifice fly from Brandon Phillips. Slap foul, and in a hole is 0-2. Willie Taveras.
You know, Anthony Reyes isn't really throwing hard enough that you should be tempted to swing at those marginal pitches. He's a guy that even if you get 2 strikes on you, he does not look like he's got a put him away pitch working. I remember him throwing over 90 miles an hour, George. He's barely getting it up there at 80 to 85.
91, 92 regularly. That's way wide.
And when he does try to hump up on it like he did right there, all he does is miss the plate down and wide. It's a pitcher's worst nightmare. And I don't know what's going on with him physically, but it's a manager's worst nightmare too. And you reach back for something and there's absolutely nothing there.
Popped up in the infield. DeRosa will take charge, and there's your second out of the inning. So the runner in scoring position, Gonzalez. The Reds failed to convert him. Taveras has been one of the Reds' better hitters with runners in scoring position. He and Phillips are the only 2 hitting over 300. Didn't get it done this time. 2 away, and here comes Jerry Hairston Jr., who was hit in the back with a pitch in the first. Year of interleague play underway at Yankee Stadium. Jimmy Rollins started it off with a home run. The Phillies now lead the Yankees 3-0 at Yankee Stadium. Colorado and Detroit scoreless in the third. Mets lead Boston 1-0 in the second. Interleague play for Cincinnati has not been real good. 77 and 95 their overall record. The Indians 5 games over 500 at 108 and 103. Against Cleveland, the Reds are 3 games under 500, and they've been better of late. 5-1 last year. In fact, last year the Reds were 9-6 in interleague play. That was tied for the best record among National League teams. American League thumped the National League last year. Last year the Reds, the Mets, and the Braves were the only ones to finish over 500. The Reds at 9-6 last year. Three and 0 to Hairston. And he's on for the second time. First hit by a pitch, second time via the walk. Fourth walk issued. The Reds will play the Indians twice, here at Great American Ballpark, then the last weekend in June at Cleveland. They travel to Kansas City June the 12th through the 14th. Travel to Toronto June 23rd and 25th, and then we'll play the White Sox here. Of course, June 20th is the Civil Rights game. That'll be a festive weekend. Cleveland, Kansas City, the White Sox in Toronto on the interleague bill of fare this year. I'm looking forward to going to Kansas City, where they've renovated the stadium. It was always a beautiful ballpark to start with, and see what they did.
I'm looking forward to going back to Toronto, George.
Twice.
Seems like this last year we were there.
Figure that out. I don't know. You and I have talked a lot about it. I'm not overly enamored with interleague play. It doesn't make much sense to go back to the same city on the road twice in back-to-back years.
Maybe they're just trying to build a natural rivalry between the Blue Jays and the Reds.
We go to the Hockey Hall of Fame anyways.
Again.
No balls, 2 strikes to Bruce, who
Think the
walked.
lake will still be frozen up there?
Jay trying to get a runner in. Unbelievable. The Reds have stranded 5 in the first 2 innings against Anthony Reyes, who's been struggling. Still tied 1-1. Play all together. Text the number of your choice to 37664. Standard text rates do apply. What are your thoughts, Chris?
I go for number 5.
That's a bouncer down into the left field corner. Rounding first, going to second is Ben Francisco. Francisco will cruise in with a 2-base hit and a leadoff double for the Indians here in the 3rd.
Francisco, the left fielder, down the number 8 spot in the order. And he rips it right down the left field line and went down there so quickly that Tim Timmons had to do a little skate to get out of the way of that ball.
Early votes. Well, you got some supporters, Chris. Eliminate completely.
No. I was number 5, George. I'm number 4.
Oh, I thought you said 4.
No.
What's 5?
5 is every other year.
I mean, no interleague play 1 year?
Correct.
And then every
only in
other...
the odd years. So this would be an interleague year. Next year, we go to San Diego, Arizona, LA, and San Francisco instead of interleague play.
I don't mind interleague play, but I like to see less of it. I mean, I can see playing your natural rival, say the Indians, for one series. Here's a bunt shown by Reyes. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. And then maybe one other team. Do it in 1 week. One series against your interleague natural rival, the other one against another team that you surface in. And then instead of playing those extra interleague games, I'd rather play more games against teams out of your division. In other words, more games against the Giants, the Dodgers, the Braves, teams who used to be in the same division that the Reds were in. And instead of, for instance, playing 6 games against the Braves, play 9. I don't think it's going to happen, but
no, I don't think so either. But you know, interleague play has been—it's a success story. There's no question about it. The Major League Baseball can look at the bump in attendance and viewership, you know, over the years. But I think now that it has begun to run its course to the point where it needs to be tweaked a little bit, one way or another. I'm not sure exactly how, but you know, I like the idea of every other year. Unfortunately, my idea wasn't good enough to make the top 4.
We'll make a special one for you. It's kind of evening out. 33% for add more, 38% for eliminating.
Well, there's only 4,000 votes in right now, though, so George. So let's give it some time.
This has been one of the more aggressive phone call and text nights that we've had.
Well,
I mean, the guys in the truck saying it's amazing.
Fridays are big.
Bunt down. They've got a shot for the runner at third. Here's the throw, and he is a dead duck. Great job by Adam Rosales. Bad job with the bunt by Reyes, and the Reds will nail the go-ahead run.
Well, you got to figure that Eric Wedge felt somewhat comfortable in sending Anthony Reyes out there to bunt, because if you ever been in the National League as long as Reyes has, he had to do that before, and many times. But he did it to first base. You bunt right into a trap when you bunt to the first baseman, especially when it's a converted third baseman playing first. Good arm, good fielder. Rosales puts the throw right on the money, and even though there was no force play, they're able to get that lead runner.
So the runner erased from second. There's 1 out runner at first, and here comes Cabrera, the switch-hitting leadoff hitter. Get flat out first time up. Cabrera, only 23, native of Venezuela, came up the end of last year. Boy, he was something else. He lit it up, hit nearly 400 last year in the last month of the season. And we've heard it the last couple of years that the Indians were thinking more and more of moving Johnny Peralta to a corner. And he'd been playing some third. Mark DeRosa they acquired in the offseason, although DeRosa's not hit anywhere near where they had hoped he would hit. Mark's playing third tonight. Cabrera, bright young star. Defensively, he's their best shortstop right now. And offensively, he's taken over the leadoff spot. Here's the 1-2. Gonzalez will take it himself. Yes, sir. Another twin killing. 2 on the night for the Reds. 34 on the season. Base runner erased. Here we go to the bottom of 3. or visit Reds.com. You would have played better today if you wore that when you were playing golf. You know
early
that.
for a rally cap there, isn't it, George? I mean.
Yeah, but you see, that's your Fox Sports Ohio logo. That's where. Did you get the memo that we're supposed to wear it this way so you show the logo?
Oh, we got the memo, all right. I'll tell you what, these are sweet hats.
They are pretty
They
neat.
really, 20,000 of them are given away tomorrow.
That's about half of Jesse's inventory.
It's
pretty good.
You know, it's really one of the highlights of all the giveaways all year long is the
Daddy Wagner's
FS Ohio hat giveaway day. I like the color. I like the other sponsor we have on there, Skyline Chili. Thanks for their help.
That's tomorrow. Hope you join us at Great American Ballpark. Always one of the best giveaways of the summer. Here's Brandon Phillips. Did that clip him? Just missed him. Phillips produced the Reds' lone run in the first, a bases loaded sacrifice fly that tied the game at 1. Brandon in the lineup today. Against the team that traded for him from the Montreal Expos. And he's first time that the Indians played the Reds when he was with Cincinnati for the first time. Everybody wanted to ask him questions, and he obliged by saying, I hate the Indians. I never want to see them again. Since then, he's kind of said, well, I've turned the page on it. I just want to beat everybody we play. In the air, right center field. Who's going to take charge? Chu will, and there's one away.
Well, if you're a Reds hitter tonight, and if you're looking for a fastball to hit from Anthony Reyes, it's going to be a very long and frustrating night. He has not shown the propensity tonight to throw his fastball at all for a strike. He threw one on a 3-0 count, I think, so far in the night. But everything else that he's thrown in the strike zone is an off-speed pitch. It almost reminds you of Paul Byrd, you know, who used to pitch for the Indians for quite a while.
Yeah, you're right.
He mixed the pitches up. He had kind of an old-fashioned type of a herky-jerky, loosey-goosey delivery. It would be very deceiving. Big, slow curveball, slow changeup. You've got to think breaking ball when you step in the batter's box and just let the fastball go. Sit on something slow and let it rip.
One away, and here comes Lance Nix. He flied out to left in the first.
And that philosophy, though, George, goes against what you train for as a hitter. You train as a hitter to make your back quick and to get into the zone without any extra movement and get right to the hitting spot. Like that.
Pretty good. Going deep. Looking back is Chu against the wall. He'll haul it in. He hit it a ton, but straight up in the air. Hey, don't forget, when the Reds get it done with a run batted in this season, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. One of those nights where you have opportunity after opportunity, and you hope by the time you get to the 9th inning it hasn't cost you a ball game when you don't convert. The Reds have already left 5 on base through the first 2. Here's Ramon, who walked in the first inning. Indians do most of their advanced scouting via video, and talking with Eric Wedge before the game today, he said, I've noticed it. He said, you've got a pretty good guy behind the plate. Ramon Hernandez has played a lot better than we saw him play in the American League the last couple of years. I think everybody in the Reds family, Chris, would agree with that. I mean, we didn't see him day in and day out. The Indians saw a lot more of him, but he's been a lot more proficient here in Cincinnati than he was in Baltimore.
Well, he's been good at the plate and behind the plate, George. No complaints at all from the pitchers or anybody else involved. He got bad reviews from, you know, just about everybody, from scouts, other executives from teams, and He's been nothing but a model citizen and a hard worker since he's been over here. Great trade, I think, to be able to get him over here.
He walks for the second time. 5 walks issued by Reyes. That's up and in to Adam Rosales, who popped out to end the first. Days after 2+ innings already, Victor Martinez was probably wishing he was playing first tonight instead of catching. He's been all over the place back there. Martinez will DH. He'll place him first. They'll get his bat in the lineup every night. They're limited without the DH when they play National League teams. 3-0. Rosales, 2 home runs, 1 on the last homestand and 1 at Arizona on the most recently completed road trip. Back-to-back walks. That's now 6 walks issued by Reyes.
Well, how about this strike and ball ratio? Normally we talk about having twice as many strikes as balls, and that's an excellent ratio. He's working on throwing more balls, Reyes does, than he has strikes, and he still has only given up 1 run in the ball game. That is there's some magic going on here somewhere. I mean, how does that happen?
Amazing. Only 1 run and 1 hit. The only guy who has a hit off him is the guy coming to the plate, Alex Gonzalez, who singled in the second.
Unless you're bringing your sand wedge up there, there's nothing to hit.
Reds still haven't been able to come up with a key hit with runners in scoring position. Had the bases loaded twice in the first. Had a runner on second with 1 out in the second and couldn't convert. And here they've got first and second with 2 outs in the third. Balls and 1 strike. Not often you've seen this kind of wildness from any pitcher, but from this guy, a new career high for him and only 2 2/3 innings of work.
He's got a chance to blow right on past this.
Really, the only pitch that's been effective at throwing strikes has been that breaking ball.
Yeah, the breaking ball and the changeup, both of them coming in there in the low 70s.
Swings it. A pitch way out of the strike zone and grounds out. So the Reds will strand 2 more here in the third. We are still tied at 1 going to the 4th. era that has been a home run era. I mean, back in the old days, some Reds names, Indians names at the top of that list. Now there we go to the fourth. Grady Sizemore will lead it off. The only Indian run was a Sizemore homer in the first inning, his 8th of the season. Yes, he came in hitting only .213, but Chris, if you're starting the team tomorrow and you're having a draft, this is one of the first guys you'd be thinking about drafting, huh?
Well, you can hit him anywhere in the lineup, George. You can hit him from leadoff down to number 3. He'll steal bases for you. And normally a very good hitter, although he's just off to a bad start. You know, sometimes when a team goes bad, even some of its better players can be sucked down with it. And I think that might be happening to Sizemore this year. When, you know, to talk to the Cleveland Indians guys, you know, when he does hit the ball hard, it seems to be somebody there. Although he's hit the ball hard twice tonight, and he's picked up a couple of knocks for the Indians.
2 for 2 for the 26-year-old Sizemore. A sweet swing, and he's on to lead it off.
I think that might be the same pitch he hit the first time up, except a better location this time for Bronson Arroyo. Sinking fastball, still had enough of the plate for Sizemore to tattoo it into right field.
Well, Sizemore is a 20-20 guy. The last 4 years, each of the last 4 years, he's had more than 20 stolen bases, more than 20 homers. In fact, last year he had 33 homers and 38 stolen bases. But again, you talk about an off year. He's got 6 stolen bases, and he's been caught 6 times already this year. Uncharacteristic for him. Here's the switch hitting Martinez. Victor bounced to first time up. Number 1 in on-base percentage, number 1 in average in the American League. He serves this to left. Here comes Nix in rapidly, and Sizemore had gone more than halfway to second, but he alertly gets back. You can see Nix had an idea of trying to double him up, but Sizemore got back quickly. That's a sign of a good hitter, the way Victor Martinez took that ball the other way smoothly, but Nix there to haul it in. 1 out, 1 on, and here's Chu. Bounce to first time up. He's been hot of late. 389 in the last 10 games. If the Indians ever get it right, meaning if they get their bullpen right, there's Carl Willis trying to give his right-hander a bit of a pep talk. I mean, nurse him through 3 innings like that, huh, Chris?
Well, you know, just to be able to get him through what he has been through with the stuff he's taken out there tonight is very impressive, George. I mean, he's going out there on guts. I got to speculate that he may end up seeing him on the list here not too long, because he just does not look like he's healthy at all. But he's given it everything he has to stay in the ball game.
The ball's 1 strike to Chu. There is somebody up in the Indians bullpen again. They may have already made a decision. He may already be out of the game. Swinging out of his shoes is Chu. 1 and 2.
Now, he can hit the home run. There's no doubt about that. Chu's got power, and he tries to go yard on that one. He's got 5 home runs already this year. He had 14 for the Indians last year.
1 and 2. Tries to sneak it by him on the inside corner, misses. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Now, Chu's a guy that started his major league career coming over from Korea in Seattle, where he promptly went 2 for 29 before he was traded to the Indians from former Red Ben Broussard. That was back in 2006. And he's been good with the Indians. I mean, if you look at his stats from 2007, he batted .294. In limited time, he only had 17 at bats. Last year, he had 317 at bats, and he batted .309 with 14 runs, 14 home runs.
Full count, 3-2. There goes the runner. Here's a fly ball to center, hit pretty good. Taveras back, warning track. He'll get it one step in front of the wall.
Now we've seen some very high hit fly balls on the night. Now this is a can of corn because you've got a speedy center fielder, Willie Taveras.
Two away, and here comes Peralta, walked in the second. There goes the runner. The throw from his knees won't be in time by Ramon Hernandez. Number 7 for Sizemore.
Well, you know, George, what happens a lot is that a pitcher, once you get 2 outs, you begin to ignore the runner at first base because you're not so concerned about keeping the double play in order. So very quietly that runner gets an extra step at first and then takes off, and now he's in scoring position. Even with 2 outs, he can still commit on the base hit.
And the Royals behind 2-0 to Peralta. Peralta's numbers as he steps in at 264. Not where you'd expect him to be, but after the April that he had, not bad. Well, he was near 200 in the month of April.
Yeah, he's a 268 career hitter, and he'll get back up to where he normally would be. Where at this point he only has to go 4 points, but last year he had 276. He is a guy, though, that has some home runs, and he's the type of player I think that you would hope that Edwin Encarnacion could give you the same type of numbers overall. Hits anywhere from 15 to 22, 23 home runs a year, will drive in, you know, 60 to 75 runs a year. And that's the kind of player they hope Encarnacion will be.
There's Mark DeRosa. Came over from the Cubs in the offseason. Last year in Chicago, he was instrumental in helping the Cubs win the division. Wherever you put him, at second, at third, or in left field, he produced offensively. This year, he just started off in a hole from the get-go. He was 0 for 12 to start the season and never really recovered in April. He's gotten it a little bit under control here in May, and the average up to 253. And he's had some success against Arroyo, so Hernandez and Arroyo will talk it over. Coming in, DeRosa hit .429, 9 for 21 against Bronson. Oh, and 2. Ryan Garco on deck. Royal thought he had him. He got a piece of it to stay alive. Single by Sizemore, a walk to Peralta there on second and first. Yes, missing.
And I'm not so sure that that pitch is even designed to be a strike. I think that when he comes inside of DeRosa with that pitch right there, it's a two-seam fastball that you kind of want him to tease at it, yes, but he's going to probably go back outside with a slow curveball. Just trying to change a hitter's eye, make him a little uncomfortable in the batter's box, and then pull the string on that hook of his and see if he can get DeRosa to wave at it.
2-2.
Another sinker.
Down to third. They'll go to second and get the out. Single and a walk, nothing to show for it. Reds go back to work as we go to the fourth. The Royals due up, bottom of fourth. faded off as we go to the bottom of 4 and face a new pitcher. Chris, what we speculated is right. Anthony Reyes out of the game after 3 innings. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, and 6 walks. 59 pitches in 3 innings. And here's Jensen Lewis will take over.
Third season of the Jensen Lewis has been with the Cleveland Indians. 26 games in 207 and then 51 last year. And he was up and throwing right from the very first inning after Anthony Reyes couldn't find the strike zone. They had him up there, I think, after the 3rd walk of the ball game, which was in the first inning.
Indians have already used 37 players. That's the most number of players when Jeff Kellogg gets the worst of that foul tip. That's the most number of players in the American League, and the vast majority of those players have come in the bullpen. It's been like a revolving door in the bullpen for Eric Wedge and his staff. Most players used, and it's a similar story for the Washington Nationals. They've made most of their changes in the bullpen too. But Eric Wedge and Carl Willis have sent down to the bullpen to bullpen coach Chuck Hernandez and Danny Williams, a host of new faces, hopeful of trying to find a way to put a bullpen together that'll work.
Well, those guys who you just saw, Eric Wedge, have to be very happy with being able to get through 3 innings watching their starter Anthony Reyes throw the way he did and still be tied in his ball game, and having only given up 1 hit.
Arroyo strikes out. That's strikeout number 1 for Jensen. Time for our Aflac trivia answer. Any guesses, Chris? We've talked a lot about this in recent years. The likes of Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, people like that, and of course
Frank Robinson,
the great Frank Robinson too, from the Cincinnati Reds, who has to this point the most number of home runs in the state of Ohio. It is the Hall of Famer from the Reds, Frank Robinson, at 197. Had Manny Ramirez stayed in Cleveland, he'd have that record now. Fortunately, he went to Boston, and now
he wouldn't have gotten in trouble if he stayed in Cleveland.
You're right.
Although he did get in a little bit of trouble, and that was Albert Bell.
Here's the list. JB at 195. Jim Thome still has a chance to be the all-time Ohio home run hitter. He's with the White Sox, and of course he'll come here for interleague play. Adam Dunn passed the 140 mark last year as a Red. Kozuski at 148, as Dunner passed Ted as the #1 left-handed home run hitter in Reds history too. And Tony Perez and Veda Pinson. Bouncer to the right side, double dribble by Garco, but Jensen is there to bail him out. Taveras is retired. 2 away.
Well, anytime you see a bobble like that and you're a speedster like Willie Taveras, you're going to turn on the jet burners to try to get down to first, and that's exactly what he did. And sometimes infielders will bobble just knowing that you've got a runner that's going to be that fast, and they think that they've got to field that ball speedier than ever.
There's Jerry Hairston Jr. hit by a pitch and walked. He's been on base twice. Golden opportunities for the Reds in the first 2 innings. They stranded 5, and in fact through 3 they stranded 7. The only run produced in the first, when the bases were loaded twice, a sacrifice fly from Brandon Phillips. Hey, I mean, very clearly Anthony Reyes didn't have good stuff. We just hope he's healthy and not hurt, but he gutted it out for 3 innings. Give him credit for that. Always been a competitor. We've watched him in St. Louis. Having said that, the Reds lost golden opportunities in all 3 innings. 2 away, nobody on for Jerry Hairston Jr. This one popped up to the right side. Out is Cabrera, who's going to take charge. Chu will, and that'll do it. So Jensen has a 1-2-3 inning, the first clean inning for the Indians tonight. We're still tied at 1. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. The Reds have stranded 7 through the first 4. We're tied at 1. Bronson Arroyo facing the bottom of the order. Garco, Francisco, and the pitcher's spot as we go to the top of inning number 5. George Grant, Chris Welsh, great to have you with us. Jeff Pecoro, Jim Day, keeping you up to date with Reds Live as well. Mark Wagner, Jesse Jackson up in the booth with us. Christian Roberts, our producer tonight. Brian Hunterman's our director down in the truck. Sarah Mann, Lauren White, Matt Sigafus putting that highlight package together for you too. We are missing John Brody down in the truck because everybody in Reds country knows where he is. Syracuse once again in the lacrosse national championship semifinals. So you know where he's taking Benji, right?
Hopefully to get a haircut.
Swing and a miss to Garco. It's a boys' weekend. Cindy led Benji and Dad head to Syracuse for the semifinals. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Hope you join us all weekend long as we zero in on interleague play. Ken Weaver will be handling our pre and post game coverage. Reds Live before the game tomorrow, 6:30. This one slap foul down the left field line. It'll be Homer Bailey tomorrow against David Huff, another lefty that the Reds will face. And Chris, it'll be good to see Homer back for his first start of this year. He was impressive this spring.
Well, he was very impressive this spring. George had a chance to talk to Ted Power, his pitching coach down with Louisville today, and he reiterated to me that he was throwing the ball exceptionally well down there. He's added a couple of wrinkles to his pitching strategy, and I'm anxious to see him get out there and deal, throwing the ball with authority. And I think that, you know, the Reds had that confidence in Homer Bailey all along, especially after the spring that he had. I think that it's just a matter of time before this guy comes to the major leagues and sticks for a long time.
Popped up, Hernandez tosses the mask away, and he squeezes it one away here in the 5th. In case you joined us late, Homer Bailey's been recalled. So was right-handed pitcher Carlos Fisher, who will be with the club. Ramon Ramirez was optioned down to Louisville after Edinson Volquez was placed on the disabled list with his back spasms, and Darnell McDonald was designated for assignment. And of course Johnny Gomes, his contract was selected from Louisville, so Gomes is with the club too. There you see Homer's numbers. He'll be starting tomorrow for the Reds. On Sunday it'll be Johnny Cueto against Cliff Lee, and boy, Lee is back on the beam after winning the Cy Young Award last year and starting off in horrible fashion. He's one of the best pitchers in the American League again. And the Astros will come to town. Aaron Harang against Wandy Rodriguez on Monday. Michael Owings against Roy Oswalt on Tuesday. And Bronson Arroyo's going tonight, is due to go on Wednesday. That's drilled foul by Ben Francisco. Francisco double to lead off the 3rd. Hope you join us all weekend long. Hope you also have a chance to come to downtown Cincinnati. It's Taste of Cincinnati this weekend in the downtown area. That's always a lot of fun. And we hope you take some time on this Memorial Day weekend to pause for a moment and remember and honor all of those who serve our country and who have given their lives so that we can enjoy this holiday weekend, enjoy the game of baseball, and enjoy our lives in the greatest nation in the world. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He flips that frisbee up, and that's a strikeout. For Bronson Arroyo, that strikeout number 1 of the evening. Hey, bring your family out to the ballpark for some fun Monday on Memorial Day at 1:10 for the ereach.com family game. When one family member purchases a full price ticket, entire family gets non-premium tickets at half price. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to reds.com. Offer valid in advance of game day only. You got the SS Welch in the water yet?
No, George. Doesn't look like it's going to be seaworthy this year. So I sold it to some unsuspecting sucker over the winter.
Jesse, is that the one you bought? Somebody popped one of the pontoons. There it is.
It's great until it rains.
There it is right there. Nice of you to bring it to the park. We saw you get off when you got to the ballpark today. And the band was playing for you as you got off. That was pretty neat.
That was it.
It's amazing how you get that up the river and then around the moat at the Ponderosa. That's pretty impressive. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rip, foul.
Jensen Lewis got to be a special night for him, coming back and playing in his hometown with the Anderson High School, of course, and went on to play at Vanderbilt. And a young man that came into a couple of games last year, was saddled with the loss in the first of the 2 games that he pitched against the Reds here at Great American Ballpark. But still in all, whether you come back as a visiting player or ever lucky enough to be a home player in your hometown, it's a special time.
And Eric Wedge, well aware of that. Before the game, he's talking about it. Jensen, of course, local product. Eric was from Fort Wayne, Indiana, grew up as a Reds fan. Favorite player was Johnny Bench, so he's cognizant of history and cognizant of giving this young man a chance to appear before the home folk. Well, Bronson finally gets him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Arroyo. 1, 2, 3 for him. When we return, Jay Bruce will lead it off. They're only 7-11 at home and 9-15 on the road. And again, Central Division competition, they've been under 500, 9-12. And add it all up, they're 8.5 games back. Hopeful of trying to get their pitching straightened out. You know, they hit well enough. They're one of the top 5 hitting teams in the league. They just struggled pitching. That's your Honda standings update. Here's Jay Bruce to lead it off as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Brandon Phillips due to follow, and then Lance Nix. Bruce walked in the first to load the bases and struck out in the second with 2 runners on. Brandon Phillips on deck. Big day tomorrow for Brandon. The official dedication for Brandon Phillips Field is scheduled for noon tomorrow. Located at Clark Montessori School in Winton Place. He donated over $32,000 to the Reds Community Fund to help fund that field. It's the home of the Cincinnati Public Schools Clark Montessori varsity and junior varsity baseball teams. along with the Reds Community Fund RBI program. Bouncer down to second. Bruce retired, and there's one away. Should be a big day for him. He was excited about it today. Mom and Dad will be in town, and for Brandon, it'll be another example of how he's really latched on to the Reds community. And Chris, an example of how, from top to bottom, the players on this Reds roster have.
Well, George, part of the deal is now that they are, I don't know if they're required, but they're asked, and I think they've had 100% participation to donate some of their salary back to the Reds Community Fund, which in turns fixes up fields and makes sand lots and parking lots and turns them into baseball fields, whether it's in inner city or out in rural Reds country somewhere, so that kids can play baseball and softball. And they've done wonderful work all over the area. Hundreds of fields the Reds Community Fund has come around and refurbished. Aaron Harang had a special field dedicated that he donated a lot of money to just about a week or so ago. And it's just a continuing effort that they do year after year, and it just gets better and better, and they're just building a tremendous foundation.
2 balls, no strikes to Brandon. And it's 3-0. He thought it was ball 4. Jeff Kellogg says, it's 3-1.
Wow. Jeff Kellogg, in his defense, umpire has seen so many balls down the dirt, he may have forgotten what the strike zone is.
It's one of those nights.
It is one of those nights.
If you're the home plate umpire. There's a bouncer down to third, backhanded by DeRosa, the long throw. He'll get Brandon by a step. Nice play by the Indians' third baseman.
Mark DeRosa is kind of the Indians' version of Jerry Harrison. Doesn't have the same speed, but he gives them the versatility in the infield, the outfield. He can play anywhere. He can hit in just about any spot in the lineup, and that's a dandy defensive play he makes right there. Gets up, doesn't rush his throw, and he feeds a perfect one over to first base.
In fact, it seemed a little strange going to Chicago to see the Cubs, Chris, when you talk about what made them a good team last year. And Kerry Wood's been a fixture in the Cubs clubhouse for so many years. He was a leader not just the way he played the game, but the way he carried himself in the clubhouse. And Mark DeRosa established himself as that last year too. Both of them gone, both of them here in the American League in Cleveland. There's a bouncer. The Reds 1-2-3 in the 5th. Golden opportunities missed, and we're still tied 1-1.
Some on the field. Here's a taste.
The main goal will be up here, help this ball club win, and do what I can from the right side of the plate and play some outfield. There's two things I'm going to bring every day is, hustle and, respect the game. And, and I'm a baseball player, so regardless, where I'm at, you can get, the same out of me.
Was that leader down in Louisville, and he's that type, that infectious type, like an Adam Rosales, whose enthusiasm to the game just rubs off on everyone. Also a special story. He's had to deal with a lot of things off the field to get here as well, George and Chris.
Great to have Johnny back, and we wish him the best of luck, Chris. He battled all the way down the line during spring training to try to get that final roster spot.
Yeah, he did, and he almost made the ball club. And I'm glad to see him up here now. Jim Day, that's a guy I'm wondering. I thought he was a man among the people. And here he is up in the press box all by himself up there.
He looks very official.
I want to see him interact with the fans. I mean, that's what's one of the highlights of our broadcast every night is to see him interact with fans, whether it's a birthday girl or whether it's on singles night, anything. And I say we ban him from the press box and get him out there among the common people.
He loves your support, I know. Asdrubal Cabrera bounces out, and there's one away. And here comes Grady Sizemore. Always been a man of the people.
Absolutely.
There's Sizemore. He homered in the first, singled in the fourth, 2 for 2. Seems like you've been talking about this guy forever, and he still is only 26 years of age. Established himself as one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, Gold Glove winner, and a good offensive player too. Lazy fly ball to left. Nix is under it. Lance has it. 2 away, and here's Victor Martinez. Firestone leaderboard for tonight. Just how good of a start has Victor Martinez had coming into tonight, an even 400. Number 1 in the American League, right ahead of Miguel Cabrera, and he's also number 1 in on-base percentage in the American League. He's been amazing against right-handers this year. He's hit .435, and against left-handers .387. So wherever it's been, wherever he's had to face a pitcher, he's delivered this year. And we've really seen him mature over the last 2 or 3 years in his presence in the clubhouse. Next year, the Reds clubhouse will be right next to the Indians clubhouse in Goodyear, Arizona for spring training. Indians moved there this year to Goodyear. Talking to Eric Wedge and all the members of the Indians party, they enjoyed the facility and enjoyed their time there this year. The Reds will be right next door. Their facility almost identical to what the Indians have, and will share the same stadium. No balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you got to figure these two teams in spring training will play each other at least 4 times. Isn't that about what the Reds would play the Pirates who are the closest down to Sarasota? So that eliminates a lot of travel right there. Gives Ohio folks a chance to see both of the Ohio teams in spring training when they come down to Arizona.
Well, there'll be at least 4 or 5 trips that are within 20 minutes for games. That's the Reds facility that's underway, construction underway, which is right next to the Indians facility, and the two are almost identical. State of the art. Stadium is beautiful, a 10,000 seat stadium. There's the Indians side of it, which is right next to the Reds. We did not have time to get the Chris Welsh press room completely finished. We'll be ready for you in time for next year. That's a ground ball out. Gonzalez takes care of it. 1-2-3 for Bronson. Arroyo's due up 4th when we return in this 1-1 game.
Saw where Ramon Hernandez set up, and it was way inside. You can't make a mistake to a whole lot of major league hitters, especially those as quality a hitter as Grady Sizemore, and that is the only run the Indians have had.
Our Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
You know, the way this game started, George, you would never think in a million years. Now, you look up at the scoreboard, here we are on the bottom of the 6th inning, and there's a total of 2 runs. Both the runs came in the 1st inning, and the Reds have 1 hit. The Indians only have 3. I mean, this game had all the indications of a major offensive blowout type game, and just goes to show you just really never know.
Reds had a great opportunity early, didn't convert, and we're now tied at 1. By the way, we get word from the Indians clubhouse that Anthony Reyes left the game with right elbow inflammation. Not a surprise after watching him, Chris, in that first couple of innings. We hope he's okay. Remember, they shut him down last year towards the end of the year with a similar kind of malady. Here's Ramon. He walked twice against Anthony. He'll be followed by Adam Rosales and Alex Gonzalez. Bench looks a little bit different tonight. Joey Votto did take batting practice today. He is available to pinch hit. Chris Dickerson from the left side as well. Paul Janisch, Ryan Hannigan, Michael Owings available from the right side. And remember, Johnny Gomes is on that bench too. And they will get Hernandez on the 1-6-3 put out. They nip him by half a step.
He's checking his glove out as Jensen Lewis saying, how the heck did that happen? Ball right back. He thinks he's got it. He deflects it right there, but a very quick acting Johnny Peralta is able to make the play, mainly because you've got the Reds catcher running.
First out of the 6, and here comes Rosales. Current makeup of this Indians bullpen has Jensen, Rafael Betancourt, who the Reds have seen over the years, the veteran Matt Hergis, Luis Vizcaíno, Greg Aquino, and of course Kerry Wood, who's the closer. That's all from the right side. Aaron Laffey's the left-handed side of the bullpen, and since moving from the rotation into the bullpen, he's been outstanding for Eric Wedge. Rosales popped out, walked his first 2 plate appearances. To Rosales. And we'll go full. Phillies are now leading the Yankees 5-1 in the 7th. Minnesota over Milwaukee 4-0 in the 3rd. Detroit leads Colorado 3-1 in the 7th. The Mets over Boston 4-3 in the 5th, and the Pirates and White Sox are scoreless in the 3rd. Alex Rodriguez has homered to give the Yankees their lone run in that Philly-Yankee game. There's another walk. That's the first walk issued by Jensen Lewis, and all told, the 7th walk issued tonight. Carl Willis, the pitching coach, up bringing down the bullpen again.
I mean, it's hard to believe, George, you look at again your scorecard and the scoreboard here, that if not for that little bloop hit that went over the head of the second baseman by Alex Gonzalez, the Indians would be looking at no-hitting the Reds right now. But the Reds have had plenty of opportunities. When you've received 7 bases on balls, you've had a chance to push a run across here and there. Alex has got the only knock.
Good news is they have 7 bases on balls. The bad news is they got left 7 on base through the first 5. Rosales inching off the bag. Here's Gonzalez. Had that single to center and bounced out. 1 for 2.
Hey, Reds fans, for great tasting food and family fun, pick up JTM Philly kits, burgers, or delicious barbecue from your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun.
Field. Back is Chu at the wall, looking up. He can't get it. It's off his glove. It'll go into the seats. And in the end, the Reds will be robbed of a run in all probability, because Rosales, if the ball clinks off the wall, would have scored. As it is, he'll have to stop at third. It's a ball that Chu gets a glove on, but he can't hold it.
This ball really slicing bad, and it had Chu all turned around. He was playing very shallow on Alex Gonzalez, who normally does not hit the ball all that far to right field. And the ball just kept slicing away from him. Chu couldn't get it under control at all. And actually, that's a great break for the Indians.
Just ticked off the end of the glove and glanced 1 hop into the seats. So with 1 out, it'll be 2nd and 3rd. And Rosales would have scored. And Gonzalez probably would have ended up on 2nd. As it is, it'll be 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, and they'll bring the infield in with the pitcher Arroyo coming to the plate. Now, you know, he just picked up another sacrifice, his first time up. And if you're ever going to squeeze with somebody, it would be this guy, because he's been so proficient at dropping a bunt down. But he also swings the bat pretty well. Steps out of the box, looks at Mark Berry in the third base coach's box.
What you hope to do here, if you're a pitcher, is simply make contact. When you take the sacrifices away from Arroyo, he's only struck out 6 times in 13 at bats.
8 sacrifices on the season. There's the bunt. It's rolling. It'll go foul. If it stays fair, Rosales scores. As it is, it just rolled foul.
Well, nearly perfectly executed by the Reds. Everybody waited the exact time. Arroyo didn't give it up too soon. Rosales didn't give it up too soon. If that ball stays fair, the Reds have the go-ahead run. And it doesn't keep you from doing it again. Now on a 1-1 count, you can do it again. The only thing you're worried about is that the Indians begin to pitch out a little bit. I'm surprised, really, that they haven't pitched out so far in this at-bat.
1 ball, 1 strike. Infield still in. Rosales inches off third. In the dirt.
How many of those has Martinez had tonight?
In the middle of the NHL playoffs, he's been like a goalie here tonight. Even with the outfield shallow, if Arroyo gets a base hit, because the infield is in, Gonzalez has a giant lead off second. He should score easily too. Breaking ball misses.
Actually, George, they could always put that suicide squeeze on and just have Gonzalez never stop. See if he can score 2 runs on a suicide.
Brandon Phillips would do that.
Well, that's an amateur baseball player that if you see some top-rated amateur teams around, they'll pull that one. If the third baseman fields it, oftentimes he never even thinks about that trailing runner.
3 balls, 1 strike. Fouled off. Will go 3-2. Well, he missed with the breaking ball. He fouled off the fastball. But you throw on 3-1, do you throw on 3-2? A run, 2 hits for the Reds. A run, 3 hits for the Indians. The Reds another scoring opportunity. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out here in the 6th. In the air to the right side. Rosales will go halfway. The second baseman Cabrera has it, and the runners will have to hold. Well, a battling at bat from Bronson Arroyo. Goes for naught. The Reds again now 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight.
Well, battling, yes, but still he had an opportunity to push the winning run across, or the go-ahead run across anyway, and was unable to keep the bunt fair. I'm not getting on Arroyo because he's the best bunter the Reds have, at least statistically speaking, certainly the best bunter among pitchers. But man, that's one of those that you think, wow, if the Reds don't score a run here, if Taveras doesn't get a base hit, or somehow the Reds don't push a run across in this inning, this is another great opportunity by the wayside. And when you're looking at a ball club, the Reds, that is, over the last 6 games who have hit as a team 213, you realize that those opportunities don't come all that often.
And you have a feeling that one of the things Wedge was talking about, even though there are 2 outs, don't forget about the bunt with Taveras up, and that's the way they're going to play it defensively too. At the edge of the grass at first and third, Garco at first, DeRosa at third. Fastball, swing and a miss, strike 1. Taveras tonight walked, popped up, grounded out. And it's 0-2. Walk and a ground rule double will put runners at second and third, and the Reds still trying to struggle to get the run in here in the 6th in a 1-1 game. That's a call, strike 3. He nipped away at that outside corner, gets the out he needs, and the Reds will strand 2 more. They've stranded 9 through 6. Here's the story of it. Grady Sizemore in the top of the first rips his 8th home run, his 7th career homer against the Reds. Then Brandon Phillips in the bottom of the first scores a sacrifice fly to tie the game at 1. It came after 2 walks and a hit batter. Meanwhile, the Reds have turned a couple of double plays, now 34 on the season. But the Indians have also flashed some defense. Add it all up, and the Reds have stranded 9 base runners. That's through 6 innings of work. We're going to the 7th. A run, 3 hits for Cleveland. A run, 2 hits for the Reds. Cleveland has stranded 2. The Reds have stranded 9. Bronson Arroyo delivers. And Chu bounces one down to second. If you joined us late, Arroyo's been in there all night for the Reds. Anthony Reyes started, went 3 innings, allowed only 1 hit and 1 run, struck out 1, but he walked 6. But he left the game after struggling with those 6 walks. And the report we got from the Indians clubhouse, he left the game with right elbow inflammation. All we can do is hope he's going to be okay, but very clearly, after watching him for the last 4 years in St. Louis, he did not look comfortable. He did not look fluid. Mechanically, he just didn't look like the same pitcher. And certainly the results weren't there either. Here's Peralta, who walked twice. Broken bat, through into center field, a base hit. Don't forget, you can become a fan of Fox Sports Ohio on Facebook. www.facebook.com, keyword Fox Sports Ohio. Great shot from center field of Great American Ballpark, site of game number 1 of interleague play for 2009.
Yeah, good crowd here tonight too, George, coming out to watch the Indians battle for the Ohio Cup and also the fireworks after the game.
Great walking around downtown. They're starting to set up for Taste of Cincinnati, which will be in the Fountain Square area down on 5th Street if you're in the area this weekend. All day tomorrow, all day Sunday, and during the day on Monday too.
I saw that big wad of $5 bills sticking out of your pants there. You just peel them off like off of a little notepad, don't you? Have them glued at the very top, do you? As you go by Taste of Cincinnati, you're just dropping them and eating and dropping them and eating. And
that's Monopoly money.
Yeah.
It is. Everything is under $5. So you get, I mean, all the best restaurants in town have a bill of fare, and it's always one of the enjoyable weekends of the summer. Unfortunately, we're usually on the road when it happens. It's only been a couple of times in the last few years when the Reds have been home, but they do a great job. The organizers do a tremendous job. They moved it into the Fountain Square area the last few years, and tremendous effort by all involved. So if you get down tomorrow and Sunday or Monday, you'll have some fun. There's a bouncer to the right side. Phillips can't get it. Rounding second, going to third. They got a shot at the runner at third. The throw will be kicking away, and he'll be safe.
Well, you couldn't do much better if you're Jay Bruce. He charged that ball hard. It was a squibber that came off the hands of Mark DeRosa, like inside out of that ball, and he really had to come hard to get it. And had Jerry Harrison been able to hold on to that ball, I think you've got him at third. Boy, he has been so accurate with his throws right there. I'm not so sure he gets him or not. He may have been in.
Well, so it's first and third with only 1 out, and here comes Garco. Ryan bounced out, fly it out 0 for 2. Gonzalez will take it. Boy, the double play has helped the Reds tonight. 3 of them. 35 on the season. Gonzo takes care of the inning, and we're still tied at 1. available for this series by calling 513-381-REDS or at reds.com. That's a little bit of a different trophy, Chris, than we used to have when it was a preseason game and we used to go up to Columbus, right?
It was an empty beer cup back in the day, George.
Pretty impressive.
It is very nice looking.
Look nice in your living room.
Yeah, I'm not up to winning it, but the Reds have a chance right here. They played some splendid defense. They've turned 3 double play balls, and despite having only 2 hits on the night, they're right in this ball game at 1-1. And they'll face a new pitcher, a left-hander. The only left-hander that the Indians have in their bullpen, Aaron Laffey. He started his first 4 appearances of the year, 9 games overall, and he didn't pitch all that badly out of the starting rotation. He had one very bad start, his last one, 3 innings of 5 runs, but after that, when he got him into bullpen, he filled their void.
Changes for the Indians. Aaron Laffey comes in, and he's been lights out of late out of this bullpen. New third baseman will be Jamie Carroll, veteran National Leaguer. He's over at third, and Mark DeRosa will move from third to first. So it's Francisco Sizemore Chu in the outfield, Carroll, Peralta, Cabrera, DeRosa in the infield, and Martinez still catching. That's a strike. It's a ball and a strike. The Jensen Lewis goes 4, 5, and 6, 3 innings. He allowed only 1 hit.
Really an excellent outing for Jensen Lewis, the Anderson High School product. Just exactly what Eric Wedge needed.
1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. There's a bouncer foul down the third base line off the bat of Jerry Hairston Jr. It's Hairston, Jay Bruce, and Brandon Phillips, 2, 3, and 4 for Cincinnati. One of the interleague debates always is who has the advantage when you talk about the use or non-use of the designated hitter. And I guess, Chris, it depends on the team. I mean, there have been years where the Reds would go to Cleveland, and due to injury or due to the roster, sometimes the designated hitter rule was helpful to Cincinnati when you had a big bopper that might have been a little under the weather, or you put Ken Griffey Jr. in a DH role or whatever. Depends on the year, depends on the team. Broken bat down to third. Carroll has it. One away. And as a general rule, probably the American League teams are at more of a disadvantage to come into the National League city. First, in terms of their roster, Eric Wedge talking before the game today about the changes he has to make. But also, those American League managers that haven't managed in the National League, it's a little bit of a different world.
Yeah, but George, you know, when you hire a manager nowadays, even if he hasn't had any National League experience or extensive, his bench coach will, or somebody on there. I mean, sometimes that's overblown. That, well, what if he doesn't know how to make a double switch? Well, I think we've seen so many double switches over the last few years from Reds managers that sitting at home, I think that every one of our fans could probably figure out how to make a double switch.
And even doesn't mean anything about interleague play. We've had 2 lineup mix-ups this past week. Did he go around? Yes, said Tim Timmons. Bruce shakes his head in disagreement, and it's 0-2.
Now they're keeping a lot of breaking balls on Jay Bruce, and they're throwing the ball well down in the zone. He's chasing a lot of slow stuff. And really, this is very remindful, George, of what he did last year when he struggled towards, I guess, the 2/3 mark of the season, when he was up there striking out a lot, being very aggressive at the plate, swinging at just about everything. Well, the league knew that. They've got advanced scouts, and they'd even make it worse. So that he's still looking for a fastball. They keep throwing curveballs, and the more aggressive you are, the more you're going to fall into that trap. It's part of the learning process.
So 2 away. Laffey gets his first strikeout. Here comes Brandon Phillips. Phillips, a sacrifice fly to knock in the Reds' long run. Fly to right, bounced to third.
You know what Brandon's thinking up here? I mean, he's looking at the scoreboard and he says it's 1-1. We've got 2 hits. We finally have somebody in here who throws the ball firm, and it's finally a left-hander. And I eat left-handers for lunch. And he's thinking yard every time a ball's coming his way. Going yard.
And by the way, Mom and Dad are here tonight too.
I mean, can you provide any more incentive for Brandon Phillips? Playing against his old team that he didn't break away with really on great terms. He's got his mom and dad here. They're dedicating an amateur field in his name tomorrow, one that he donated a lot of money to. And his ball club needs him because his other big hitter in the lineup is out.
Down to third. Here comes Carroll. Scooping, throwing, got him. Well, Jamie Carroll, first inning in, responds with 2 fine plays. The Reds go quietly 1-2-3. To the 8th we go. The number 8 hitter will lead it off.
Your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers.
Well, what a pleasant night for baseball. Kind of a strange game. We are tied 1-1. The Reds had golden opportunities in the first 3 innings. They stranded 3 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 7 in the first 3 innings as Anthony Reyes walked 6. They pushed across only 1 run on a sacrifice fly. The lone run the Indians have is a Grady Sizemore homer. And we're tied at 1. There's the first out of the top of the 8th inning, and here comes the number 9 spot in the order, Jamie Carroll, in the double switch into the game. Carroll came into the 9th spot, so he'll bat second in this inning. So 1 away. Bronson Arroyo keeps chugging along. He's allowed 5 hits and a run. The Reds have been helped with 3 double play ground balls, and I think, Chris, there's no doubt both Bronson Arroyo and Aaron Harang, knowing they're pitching a Great American Ballpark, in the last couple of years they've changed their modus operandi, and they've been getting more ground ball double plays than they ever have in their career.
Well, they have, especially Bronson Arroyo, George. He's a guy that has already tonight thrown 3 ground ball double plays, number 8, 9, and 10 on the season. So if the Reds have, what, 34 or 35 of them on the year? Almost a third of those have gone to Arroyo. He likes that, too, that little sinking fastball he throws.
Bouncer down to Hairston, 2 away. Hey, don't forget, this week on Fox Saturday Baseball, interleague plays in full swing as Ryan Howard and the defending World Series champion Phillies make their first trip to the new Yankee Stadium to take on Derek Jeter and the Yankees. Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week at 4 on Fox. We've got interleague play right here. Of course, there's a beautiful view of the Ohio River that will be the site of a very pleasant weekend of Memorial Day celebrations around the tri-state area. And after tonight's ball game, there'll be some fireworks falling into the river too. Spectacular fireworks on this Memorial Day weekend. 2 away, and here's Cabrera. The Struble flied out, bounced into a double play, and bounced to second. Center field hit pretty good. Back, warning track. Taveras got it. 1, 2, 3 for Bronson. The Reds going to work. Lance Nix will lead it off in a 1-1 ball game, bottom of 8. That came after a leadoff double by Ben Francisco in the 3rd. And after a ground ball ended the inning, Chris, that could have produced a run. Could have been a whole different story in that 3rd inning.
Exactly right, George. But as it stands now, we're knotted at 1. The Reds have a chance to do some damage here as we go to the late innings. And it looks like Dusty Baker's going to his bench to get some newly obtained power.
Well, here's Johnny Gomes, will have his first official at bat for the Reds. He was with the Reds in spring training, had a outstanding spring training early, tailed off at the end, did not win the final spot on the roster, but down in Louisville for Rick Sweet, had 9 homers, 27 knocked in. He's got home run power. There's a shot. It's a fair ball. Rounding first, going to second. It'll be picked off the warning track and into second. How about that? 1 pitch, 1 swing, and he's won the fans over. They're on their feet, 28,000 plus at Great American Ballpark.
Well, those of us that have seen him play a lot in spring training, George, you know that he's up there to swing the bat, not up there to walk or to work yourself into a certain hitting situation. He sees something he likes, and he's going to rip at it. And that ball went right off the tip of the glove of the 3rd baseman Carroll down there.
He's getting an ovation. Enjoy it, Johnny. His first at bat, first pitch is a productive one, as Chris Dickerson will run for him. Dickerson represents the potential go-ahead run here in the bottom of the 8th. You heard from him earlier. Boy, he was a happy guy to be in the Reds clubhouse, saying, I'm just going to come up, try to contribute, as he did for Rick Sweet down at AAA. So a runner at second, nobody out, and here's Ramon Hernandez. Ramon already has contributed in situations like this. He has 2 sacrifice bunts, and he's showing bunt here. That's up high for a ball. If the Reds should take a lead, Coco Cordero up and loosening in the bullpen for Cincinnati. Dickerson, great speed off second. The shortstop, Peralta, trying to keep him close. Swinging away and fouling it off. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah, that's not a bad play at all, especially for a guy like Ramon Hernandez, who is so adept at hitting the ball the other way. If you sacrifice him to third, you're giving up an out. And the Reds have shown themselves to be so pathetic recently with runners in scoring position that, hey, you got one of your better run producers up there right now with a chance of getting, not only get him over to third, but also to drive him in perhaps with a base hit to right field. You go ahead and take a shot at it.
Breaking ball drops in there for a strike, and it's 1-2.
And that is a tough pitch to try to hit the other way right there. This is what Dusty Baker likes about this particular setup, is that you've got 11 hits to center, 14 to right.
Dickerson off second. That's a liner right at the shortstop, and Dickerson back quickly to second.
That's a hard breaking ball right there by Aaron Laffey. It comes right in on the hands of Ramon Hernandez. And, you know, as a hitter, you're thinking right field. As soon as you think about right field and then get a little slider in on the hands, there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to get jammed and jammed good.
And every strike that he threw is down and in. So he won the battle. The Reds unable to move the runner to third. Now 1 out. Here's Rosales. Right field down the line, curving into the corner. It'll go fouling into the seats. Get him on, get him over, get him in. The Reds have gotten him on tonight. They've gotten him over, but they've stranded 9 to this point. With runners in scoring position after that line drive to short, they're now 0 for 8 on the night. It's a rocket shot into left. That's going to get the run in. Rosales has delivered. He rounds first, goes to second. Listen to them. Salute Rosales.
It looks like the same pitch that he got Ramon Hernandez out on, either a cut fastball or a hard slider. But this time, Adam Rosales was ready for it. He drops the head. He's happy with himself, and the Reds get the lead.
Now, 2 guys who started the year at AAA for Rick Sweet have delivered here in the 8th. Gomes, a pinch hit 2-base hit, and Rosales a double, and the Reds have taken a 2-1 lead. And out comes Carl Willis to talk to his left-hander. Short, crisp, quick swing, and boy, did it produce for Adam Rosales. So Rosales is on for the 3rd time. He popped out, walked twice in this double. Another look at Adam Rosales' swing.
And he's a good fastball hitter, and he gets one right here that just doesn't get inside enough. Victor Martinez and Aaron Laffey both wanted that ball really to drop on the back right foot of the right-handed hitter, get way in there. And when you miss over the plate, you risk the danger of a hard hit ball, and in that case, it drives in the go-ahead run.
And now pretty good hole on the right side of the infield with the second baseman Cabrera only about 10 feet from the bag. Here's Gonzalez, who got the Reds' first hit back in the 2nd, and then he doubled in the 6th. He's 2 for 3. Trying to go that way, fouls it off. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Reds. 1 run, 5 hits for the Indians. And Martinez is calling out Eric Wedge. I don't know whether Laffey felt something or something went wrong. He's kind of gimping as he goes back to the top of the mound. And he's holding his right side, Chris. And for a left-handed thrower, that's a muscle pulled
is
area.
The dreaded oblique.
Yep.
And we have seen more oblique injuries, George, in the last couple of years than, you know, Nick Massett right now. He's on the disabled list with an oblique pull. I can tell you that in my career, I blew 2 of them out. And
Oh, look at him go down right there.
It's where you put so much torque on your upper body, those muscles that are right around your rib cage. It's so easy to pull those off the muscle because you're trying to get so much torque and power towards the plate. And the problem with that is that every time you sneeze, cough, laugh, or take a deep breath for the next few days, you're going to feel like you're re-injured.
What a shame. That young man has been outstanding in the bullpen. But he'll exit this game. And by the way, you talked about Nick Massett. Nick threw on the side today, felt great. Everything goes okay. Apply their work with the Indians. Here's Aquino, who'll come in and take over. Greg Aquino, the new pitcher. Aquino from the right-hand side. It's Aquino, Hergis, Vizcaíno, Lewis, and Betancourt, and Kerry Wood, the closer. Laffey is the lone left-hander they have in their bullpen, and Greg takes over.
Well, he was signed to a minor league contract by the Indians. This is his 6th year in the major leagues. When he first broke in as a rookie, he was a closer for a part of the time with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Converted 16 of 19 and has not done much in the way of saving games since. Been mostly a middle reliever in his big league time.
Short lead for Rosales with Cabrera right next to him on the second base bag. That's a shot. Rosales had to hold. He's rounding third. They're going to send him. Here comes. There's going to be no throw, and he'll score easily. I don't know what Ben Francisco was thinking. He faked the throw. Rosales had slowed up, expecting to be held, and when he double pumped, Mark Berry gave him the go sign. So it ends up being a run-scoring hit for Gonzalez. The Reds lead it 3-1.
I don't know why he just doesn't come up firing it right away. What are you going to lose right there? Are you worried about that third run getting to second base?
Well, the Reds get the break on that. Rosales delivers a big hit. Gonzalez delivers a hit. The Reds lead it 3-1. And here comes Michael Owings, who will pinch hit for Bronson Arroyo, who will exit with at least a 3-1 lead.
Well, what is that? That's a nice run to bring in there.
Boy. Man, you can't call it a gift run, but It's a run that, from an Indian standpoint, should not have scored. Rosales was prepared to stay at third because he had to wait to see if the ball was going to be caught. The Reds will take the run. Gonzalez is down at first, and here comes Owings. Micah pinch hitting tonight. Fastball up and in. Owings steps out, takes a look at Mark Berry, rolls through some signs for him.
Yeah, which he's probably getting the hit sign. He is not up there to take, nor is he up there to hit and run.
He comes in at 304. A homer, 4 knocked in. Anything that he sees straight, he's going to hop all over. Reds at the top of the dugout steps with a rally here in the 8th inning. Ball and a strike. Takes a little off, way out in front is Owings. Micah, one of a host of Reds players today at the season ticket holders luncheon. Dusty Baker was there, Mike Owings, Lance Nix, Arthur Rhodes, Ramon Hernandez, and Tommy Helm stopped by. Good to see Tommy today. Mike is saying, I don't care whether I hit or I pitch, I just want to help this team any way I can. Got a chance to do it here. Not this time. Breaking ball gets him. Well, Aquino gets a strikeout. That's the second out of the inning. And back to the top of the order, Willie Taveras. Taveras tonight walked in the first. Eventually scored on a sacrifice fly by Brandon Phillips for the Reds' first run that tied the game 1-1 in the bottom of the first, after Grady Sizemore homer had given the Indians a 1-0 lead in the top of the first. And Taveras popped out, grounded out, and struck out his other 3 plate appearances. To short, the flip to second will get there in time, but the Reds do some business. Johnny Gomes' first plate appearance productive, a double, and then a double by Rosales, a single by Gonzalez. The Reds lead it. Banquet. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to reds.com.
Hey, I saw those today, George. They are very
They are
cool.
pretty neat. They are pretty neat.
They are nice.
That's Sunday. Hope you join us. Well, here's Coco. Reds have a lead 3-1. He's going to try to close it out as we go to the top of 9, Chris. Pretty good numbers.
Cordero has got pretty good numbers. You're right. Earned run average, very nice. But how about the save and save opportunities? He is 10 for 10, Cordero is. And if you look on his career record against the Indians, he has never blown a save opportunity against the Tribe. A perfect 13 for 13.
Well, if you look at the numbers going into interleague play, the Reds and Major League Baseball leading after 8 innings are 20-0. Detroit, the Dodgers, the only ones ahead of them. Well, Coco's trying to close it out here. And he'll face the only guy that's been able to put a marker up for the Indians tonight, Grady Sizemore. Sizemore homered off Bronson Arroyo, singled off him, flied out. And here we are in the 9th, and your report card on Bronson Arroyo today, Chris, has to be pretty good.
It absolutely is, George. You know, he pitched a pretty good ball game his last time out. He gave up 2 runs in the first inning against Jake Peavy and the Padres. Ended up losing that ball game because a superlative effort by the Padres pitcher. But tonight, 1 inning, 5 hits overall, and it was kind of a weird game. He had to really work to keep his concentration tonight.
28,000 plus. Oohing on what they thought was a strike 3. The numbers for Grady against Coco, 1 for 6 in his career. Victor Martinez to follow, and then Chu, and timeout asked for as a ball comes on the field in left field. Final, Detroit beat the Rockies 4-3. Mets are leading the Red Sox 5-3 in the 8th. Philadelphia leads the Yankees 7-3 in the 9th. Minnesota leads Milwaukee 9-1 in the 5th. The White Sox lead Pittsburgh 1-0 in the 7th inning. Going into play tonight, the Reds trail Milwaukee by 4.5 games in the Central Division. So if it stays the way it is, the Reds win, Brewers lose, they can pick up the game down to 3.5. That's a call, strike 3.
Bronson Arroyo gave Grady Sizemore a little bit the hit his first couple of times up. A home run and a single. Not that way with Francisco Cordero. That sinking fastball dropping right at the knees.
24 consecutive save chances for that guy dating back to last year. He's in 2nd place in the league with those 10 saves. 1 behind the league leaders. And in the bigger picture, Chris, a guy that you and I both know, he's coming in number 31 on the all-time list with 221 saves. He's 1 behind Sparky Lyle. 222 saves for Sparky. Big names on that list, huh? Martinez in his career 2 for 7 against Cordero. One strike. Game 2 tomorrow. Homer Bailey gets his first start against David Huff. Reds live at 6:30. And Sunday, Johnny Cueto against Cliff Lee, last year's Cy Young Award winner in the American League, who's been pitching great of late for the Indians. That should be a dandy matchup. And boy, did he flinch on that. That's a strike 2 call. He's looking at it, I say, where did you come up with that pitch? Two. In the 7th now, Tampa Bay leads Florida 13-1. Texas 5, Houston nothing in the 6th. Orioles and Washington 2-2. They're now in the 10th. Toronto and Atlanta scoreless in the 6th. Cardinals lead Kansas City 2-0 in the 6th inning. Those are all the games underway in interleague play. Bouncer back over second. Gonzalez has it. Got him. Well, it's been a night for maybe a lack of offense for 8 innings until the bottom of the 8th, Chris, but there's some outstanding defense
Well,
tonight.
it's a one-man show for the Reds tonight. Alex Gonzalez has 3 hits, 60% of the Reds' hits, and he's made a bunch of double play balls and some other great defensive plays. You know, the thing about Gonzalez is that he keeps his balance. His feet move so fast that he's able to keep his body under balance as he goes a long way, a turn, and makes the throw. And that's why he's accurate with those throws.
Fans will take you through this at bat. Shin-Soo Choo tonight 0 for 3. 2 away in the ninth. The Reds lead it 3-1. Cordero against Choo. $28,019, the first of this big weekend series in the battle for the Ohio Cup against the Indians. And for most of those Reds fans, a battle that includes closing ground on the Milwaukee Brewers in the Central. One ball, 2 strikes. Yes, sirree, Coco. 11 saves on the year. He backs up an outstanding performance by Bronson Arroyo and Dusty Baker, and the Reds have taken game 1 of this 3-game series against the Indians. A night that started off in struggling fashion ends with a smiling scoreboard, Chris.
That was a nice crowd tonight, George.